Hi, and welcome to Fuel Time. I'm your host, Jeff Kleinert, and it is almost summer. So that means that we're starting to think about going to the beach, we're starting to think about driving around in convertibles, getting tan, getting some sun, going to the gym so you can look good partially naked. And all that kind of fun stuff can come to a grinding halt if you have any car problems. So we have a goal of wanting to keep you guys cool during the summer. So we're going to give you a couple of quick tips to make sure that you guys can stay cooler than a pack of Otter Pops during this summer. Quick tip number 1. Check your coolant levels. We mention coolant a lot on this show, but that's because it's the most overlooked problem in engines today. So in most modern engines, there's a coolant reservoir system with a notch in it letting you know the proper fill point. Never overflow the system, but always make sure that there's enough coolant in there. If your system is completely dry, fill up the amount of coolant to the notch point, drive the car around a little bit until the engine's warm, and then check it again and add the appropriate amount of coolant if you need to add any more. Quick tip number 2, check your coolant quality. Your coolant system should be 50% coolant and 50% water. Too much coolant or all coolant actually does not keep your engine cool. Strange, I know, but it's true. And if it's been more than 2 years since you've changed your coolant, then you'll probably need to drain your system, reverse flush it with a kit from your local auto parts dealer, and then refill the system with equal parts water and coolant. Now, if you don't know how to reverse flush, then I think we'll actually go over that in a later episode. But we might not also. It depends on what you guys need. So email us, let us know if you guys need us to go over how to do that, and we'll do it. But if not, we'll move on to other topics that you guys want to hear about. Quick tip number 3, check your fluid levels. Another obvious problem that causes overheating is not having enough fluids in your car. And we're not just talking about coolant. If your oil level is low, your oil temperature can rise and overheat the engine. Oil actually provides a great deal of cooling control in your engine. Besides that, there's transmission fluid to be able to keep your transmission cool, and then other fluids like windshield washer and other things to make sure that your other parts of your car are working properly. So just make sure to check your fluid levels before you go out on the road and you'll be good to go. It's a simple preventative measure that'll save you a lot of time and headache. Quick tip number 4, check the cooling fans. Now modern cars usually come with a thermatically controlled cooling fan to be able to keep the engine at optimum temperature. And there's also some ducts within that system to be able to direct the air to the different parts of the engine and keep it cool. Now if the ducts are blocked or if the fan's not working properly, your car is going to have a tendency to overheat. And especially if you're going to be caught in some slow-moving traffic. So see if the engine fans are working, and to do so, just leave your car idle for a little bit and then see if the fans come on. And if they do, they're working. If they don't, go get them checked out. Quick tip number 5, clean your fins. By your fins, I mean your radiator and transmission coolant fins. A lot of the time when you're driving, debris will get up into your different fins, and debris from the road like leaves, grass, gravel, dirt, wood chips, hair, fingernails, Otter Pops, Nicole Richie, pine needles, different things that might block the airflow. So you need to just go down there and gently remove any debris that might be blocking the fins. Also, if there's any bending or other kind of things going on within the fins, there's a radiator comb that you can purchase that'll straighten those right out. If air can't get between the fins, it won't cool the liquid that's going through it, and it won't cool the engine. Also, if there's any leakage whatsoever, you should get that radiator out of there and get it serviced. Well, that's all the time we have today, but it's a two-parter, so go take a break, grab an Otter Pop, and then come back next week and we'll be able to finish giving you some cool tips to keep you cool during the summer. Thanks for watching.
Hey dads, my name is John. I have a podcast called Uncle John's Storytime. You can download classic stories which are fully illustrated to your iPod. Take it wherever you go, not just in the car. Your kids can watch it wherever they go because they put it in their iPod. Check it out at gimptv or on iTunes, Uncle John's Storytime. Go check it out. Thanks a lot. We'll see you later.
Hi, welcome back to Fuel Time. I'm your host, Jeff Kleinert, and today we're going to be installing DC Sports 4-to-1 performance headers into this beautiful Scion XB. Before we get started with the install, let's talk about the headers. These are DC Sports 4-to-1 performance headers. Why do we want these in our car? Because we want our car to go faster. These have great airflow, so it lets our engine breathe better, which gives it more horsepower, which makes it go faster. They're also very nice looking, so if anybody gets caught in your engine compartment and sees them, they're going to be very impressed. In addition to that, these things are 50 state carb legal, so they will not prevent you from passing smog. To enjoy all these benefits, you need to install them, and to install them, you need to have particular tools, and we're going to show you those tools right now. The tools you're going to need are a socket wrench, socket extension, a variety of different sockets, a breaker bar, and liquid wrench, or you can use WD-40. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and check our show notes on our website. But these are the tools that we're going to need, so we have them, so we're going to get started. To perform this installation today, we're going to be using the instructions that DC Sports provided with the headers themselves. Step 1, lift your vehicle. Step number 2, we're going to take off the 2 spring bolts that attach the stock headers to the exhaust. To do so, we're going to be using a 14mm socket, some extensions, and a socket wrench. And you're just going to reach on up there and remove the bolts. Step number 3, you have to remove the gasket bracket. As tough as that is to say 3 times fast, it's actually not too difficult of a step. There's a bracket that holds the gasket in place between the original headers and the exhaust system. You're going to remove 3 bolts with your 14mm socket and it'll pop right off. Okay, now that we've removed these 3 bolts, we are going to just pop the bracket off just like that, and it looks like this. Step number 4, remove the covers. We've come back underneath the hood and we're going to remove the valve cover and the heat shield. To do so, you're going to need a 10mm socket and you're going to have to remove the bolts that are holding the 2 different covers in. So there's 4 on top and then there's 4 back here holding the heat cover in also. If you have any problems removing any of the bolts, use a little WD-40 or a little bit of liquid wrench and they'll come right off. Step 5, remove header bolts. You have to remove the 5 bolts connecting the current header to the engine. To do so, you're going to need a 12mm socket and you're also going to need a small wrench like this. You need a small wrench like this because one of the bolts is kind of difficult to get to because of the power steering reservoir. To be able to show you what we're talking about, I'll show you where the bolts are on the new header. Each of these holes represents one of the bolts, and it fits on the engine just like this. And this bolt up here is difficult to get to because the power steering reservoir gets in the way. So you just have to remove it with something like this. Now, once you have all the bolts removed, you can move on and actually start taking off the rest of the header. But first we got to remove the bolts. Step 6, remove header. You just reach down in and you pull the header out. It's really that simple. Step number 7, remove exhaust donut. Pry the exhaust donut off of the previous header. We've already done so with this one. And place it on the new header. Mixing old and new. It's beautiful. Step number 8, put the DC Sport headers on and attach it using the factory bolts. So you'll drop it right down back there, just where your previous header was, and you start attaching the bolts that you used. We have the header attached and we have the valve cover back on. We're going to close the hood, lift the car back up, and attach the last couple bolts, and we'll be done. Step number 9, reattach the spring bolts. We just attached the one right there, and there was also that one right there. Now, a lot of people are wondering, hey, what happened to the heat shield and what happened to the bracket? Well, with the new headers, there's no mounting for it, so you won't be reattaching those. And of course, who would want to be able to put a heat shield on such a nice looking DC Sports header? We sure didn't. So we've got all this stuff attached. We're just going to lower the car and enjoy our new headers. So now we have our new headers installed and we are very excited. These new DC Sports headers are going to definitely help our car perform a lot better. And even though not everybody's going to see this because it's on the inside of the engine, I think it's safe to say it's really what's on the inside that counts. Or at least that's what we tell ugly people. But they wouldn't be so ugly and unsightly if they also sported some really cool DC Sports products. So check them out at dcsports.com. Thank you very much for watching Fuel Time. I'm Jeff Kleinert, and buckle your seatbelt. Forward on another episode. I think we're going to go over how to do that on a later episode. Ow, 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 ow.